Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, comedy, art and music in Saudi Arabia. We look beyond the usual headlines to speak with 4 Saudi artists pushing social and cultural boundaries in a country that's more often known for its strict rules and conservative way of life.
No woman, no drive. No woman, no drive. Say, I remember when you used to sit in the family car, but backseat. Over is so safe and well, so you can make lots and lots of babies.
Oh yeah, did we get you dancing? That was a clip from the viral video No Woman, No Drive. In just a moment, we'll be speaking to the people behind it. But first, filling in for Malika Bilal, Maytha Al Hassan, or May for short. She's a journalist and poet. 2 brilliant qualifications for today's program. This is such a different kind of show. I can't wait to get it started. What is our online community saying about what we're doing with our Saudi artists and talking to them about not politics, but about their art?
There's a flurry of comments and questions coming in. It's almost like I can't see through the blizzard of it all.
That's a good thing.
It is. It's definitely a great thing. But more importantly, tons of excitement.
Okay.
We even have Zach here who tweeted us a picture of the fact that he put this in his calendar. He said, "This is how bad I want to see the show." As you can see, you see that scheduling in there.
We love Zach.
We definitely do. Of course, this is a live conversation and you can be a part of it by tweeting us using hashtag AJStream.
Now before we get into today's talk, here's a look at some of the other Twitter hashtags that we're following at the stream. For many, Saudi Arabia equates strict rules and conservative way of life, and some tend to find it difficult to look beyond this Western stereotype and imagine a country with comedy, art and music. But Saudis are using those very mediums with the help of social media to push cultural boundaries. Today, 4 Saudi Arabia's artists answer your questions about entertainment in the kingdom. Joining us from Riyadh, we have Fahad Albutairi, who is the first Saudi stand-up comedian to appear on stage professionally. He's also an actor and a YouTube personality on the very popular show La Yiktha, which loosely translates to No More. Also in the Saudi capital is actor and comedian Hashem Fuji. He's known as the first Saudi to headline an Arabic stand-up comedy tour in the United States and England. Last month, his No Woman, No Drive satire went viral on the same weekend that women in the kingdom defied the driving ban. In Dubai, we have artist Abdul Nasir Garam. His work has been exhibited across the globe, and he recently made history when one of his installations sold for a world record price at a Dubai auction, making him the highest selling living golf artist. And on Skype from Los Angeles is singer and songwriter Ratana Talamzuni. She is currently working on original songs, collaborating with other singer-songwriters, and will begin recording her own album. So it's great to have all of you here in the stream. I'm going to start with Hisham. Now you may have already met him via a viral video, which I'm going to play for you because he does his own little self-introduction. Have a listen to this.
My name is Hashem Fuji. I'm an artist and social activist. I don't really listen to music, but while studying in the US, I heard a song by a Jamaican guy that really caught my attention. I decided to do my own rendition, with lyrics relevant to my culture, but without musical instruments. And now, with the help of some of my talented friends, I sing.
Hisham, I'm not going to make you sing right now, but when that video went viral, people started to ask you about what was the message of that satire and what did you really mean by it? And all I wanted to know is what really informs your comedy? What do you find funny?
I really like that you started with that question. A lot of people ask us, as Saudi comedians, what is your message? What is your message? Because they're so, they're so used to art or comedy having a message superficially and just being so forward with a message. I think our message, whether it's me on a personal level or the whole team, Tilfaz 11, which Fahad Albutairi is a part of, is to entertain. We want to create, we're in the entertainment sector of culture. So it's entertainment, and first and foremost, it's to entertain myself. I do approach my comedy from like a very, I guess, egocentric standpoint, which I write what I would think is funny, and then if people like it, they'll consume it with me. But I like the idea of just making people laugh, and if I can laugh along the process, that's definitely a good thing.
When was the last time you laughed?
Not necessarily a message.
Hisham, when was the last time you laughed so hard that your stomach hurt and there were tears going down your eyes? That painful laughter where you can't stop. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah. That actually happened 2 or 3 days ago. We were having car trouble, and it was just really funny and embarrassing. That's why I felt bad for the person next to me, so I laughed at them. But
that's mean. The comedy.
No, they're my friends, so it's okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, comedy is always tragedy.
All right, so you got a little sense of what Hisham's about and how kind he is to his friends. Let me bring in Abdul Nasir here. Abdul Nasir, you are a soldier and an artist. Those two careers don't seem to go well together. How did you happen to be both?
I don't know how to describe it. It takes me 23 years. I have been in the army for 23 years, and also being in art. It takes me a long time to just find the way or the marriage between being an artist, being in the army. But I think the situation and the environment I was living in help and support my, I don't know how to say it, but my position to be an artist. I'm from the southern region of Saudi Arabia, and I was there, just thinking how to say my opinion, how to say the opinion of my society, and I was looking for a kind of medium which I'm good at, and I found myself. The visual language is the best language I can deal with, and I start to develop these things.
So we're going to show some of the pictures that you actually been working on. I'm looking at some stamp paintings right now. If you want to look at them too, go to abdulnasirgaram.com. Abdul Nasir, how would you describe your art?
I think my art piece will become as a platform where it will spark the conversation, to let the people talk. Usually the people read us or knows about us through the media, which is dangerous.
Yes.
I think when I'm displaying an artwork, it will become the platform where the people can negotiate, and they will find it's a speech from nation to nation without any politic. It's a free of ideology. It's what I'm trying to do is find a solution. Let the people talk. Let the people know they will know more about them. And also, I'm trying to let my people to revision themselves, their regulation, their hatred, their history, their culture. So I think the visual language is the most important and powerful language, especially in this world with these huge communication and information. So I think I'm dealing with a global language. Everybody can understand it. Okay. You don't need a translator. You don't need the artist to stand next to it. The artwork, you will immediately engage with it.
All right, Abdul Nasir, take a breath for a moment, because we've got so many artists in our mix. It's like a stream cultural festival here. Ratana, I want our audience to know what your name means, because they are not going to believe what your full name means. So do the translation for us.
Well, my name technically is a type of date from the Western province in Medina, so it's the fruit, a date, but it's also the name of Rutana, which is a media empire in Saudi Arabia that Al-Walid bin Talal had founded. So it's the biggest music empire, so it's kind of like the MTV of the Arab world.
Okay, and Talabzuni also means is a musical name as well. Explain that too.
So Tarab is kind of what I abbreviate my last name for, in that it's actually one of the music channels on within the Rutana music empire. So it's quite funny. I get made fun of all the time.
All right, I'm sure you did. Let me just play a little bit of your new single, and I want to talk to you about it, but let's listen to a little bit first.
They can read all about it, read all about it. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh.
So I'm trying to imagine you telling your family, like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a singer. How did they react to that?
It's funny, like it went down like that. I had my little PowerPoint presentation with me, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna be a singer. And they kind of just stared at me, and they didn't really think I was that serious until I started busting out my bullet points. And it's amazing. I have an amazing family. They were behind me. Once they saw how serious and how serious I was and how much work I had put into it, pre-making the decision, they were behind me 100%, so I'm very lucky in that regard.
Very nice. Busting out your bullet points means what?
That means I had made like a list of all the reasons that I wanted to become a singer and how I was going to do it. So literally just bullet points of my plan. So once they saw that I had a paper with all these points on them, they were like, okay, she's serious.
Sure. Let me just check in with Maeve, because we're getting some instant reaction from our online community.
The storm keeps on coming down, Femi. I can't believe it. There are tons of tweets. People are excited. They're astounded. Allah says, these guys are awesome. Keep going. Taylor says, such a relief to see AJ Stream reporting on the normally underreported Saudi artists. Thanks. Keep it up. And another community member says, nothing has made me go, wow, like that Bob Marley's rendition of No Woman, No Drive. Saudi has got talent. So there are a lot of people approving in our community. I want to shift the conversation a little bit, and I think I'm going to address Abdul Nasir with this next question about support for the arts in Saudi Arabia. We have a video comment from Raneen about this.
Gives the society an appreciation for beauty, and because they're surrounded by it. And that's why Saudi Arabia needs to encourage arts and culture and music more, because there's only specific pockets of it in Saudi Arabia. A society that doesn't appreciate beauty is a society that only runs after money and after the next business opportunity.
So, Abdul Nasir, what does support for the arts look like in Saudi Arabia, and how can there be a cultivation of an active cultural community of creatives, as Raneen calls it?
I think this is an important thing, especially in this timing. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of talented people in Saudi Arabia, in music and acting and also, artists. And I think the best thing is to start with, I think me and Telfaz 11, I mean Hisham and Fahad, they are involved. We are going to build an art foundation. We call it Amin Art Foundation. And that's what's gonna, help the young generation and the young kids who has talented, but they don't have the facility and they don't have the, I think they need someone to guide them. And then we are planning to do a kind of big library and a big studios where these young artists can come and hang out, and and they start to be engaged, through their artworks with us. I think the foundation is an important thing, and also what's happening in the region. I mean, I'm talking now. I'm in Abu Dhabi right now. There is a big event in Abu Dhabi. It's called Abu Dhabi Art Fair. In Dubai, in Doha. I think now the environment is good now. Is good for these young talented people. We just, I know. We just. We just need a little bit of effort.
Okay.
But I hope, and that's the you know, to help and to support the Saudi art scene especially, it should come through the artists, through the collectors, through the businessmen. But
Right.
it's, you know, we need some times to promote this and, you know, to tell the people how important it is.
Okay, let me go to Fahad, because one of the things that you're doing, and you can hear from our online community, is that you're being role models. And one of the things that you're really well known for is being the first Saudi stand-up comedian. Can you take us back to that first gig and how you felt and how the audience reacted?
I remember I had, because I used to go to school between 2003 and 2007 at the University of Texas at Austin. And I had been an avid follower of the art of stand-up comedy, and I always thought, well, at first, my first experience with comedy was theater in school. And I felt like, you know, I just might have what it takes to be a stand-up comedian. So I took the, you know, an opportunity to audition for the open mic nights at the Cap City Comedy Club that was in Austin back then.
Yeah.
And I remember before that there was a student event where I tried to do stand-up comedy and pretty much failed miserably, and it wasn't really funny at all. It was kind of awkward.
Tell me how it failed miserably.
It was
How did it fail miserably?
Well, imagine a skinny Saudi 19-year-old or 19-year-old, yeah, a skinny Saudi 19-year-old making blonde jokes. So it wasn't really representative of my background.
Right.
People didn't really relate to it too much, and it sounded too rehearsed and too fake.
Sure.
So I started following, you know, I started like renting out DVDs for comedy specials by Richard Pryor. Watched some stuff by Woody Allen back in the day, and I've really studied how they came up with their material and how they delivered it and everything. And I felt that theirs was way more personalized towards their own characters, and they used a lot of their own characteristics to fit in. Like I remember Woody Allen would have this kind of demeanor where he looks like he's nervous all the time, and Richard Pryor, this guy who was really animated and could really imitate
Can I
sounds.
put you on a spot, Fahad? If I asked you to, what's the funniest joke you've ever heard? Hopefully it's one of yours, but if it's not, I don't mind, because it'd be really nice to know what makes you laugh so much that it hurts and you cry.
Okay, one of the funniest things that I've heard since I started doing comedy here in Saudi was this joke where some guy was telling me that it's so boring here in Saudi Arabia that pigeons, even though they have wings, they choose to cross the street on their feet. That kind of felt, you know, that was really funny to me because it's true. You notice like a lot of pigeons, like they do have wings, but they don't choose to fly across the road. They just choose to walk.
Right.
And they wobble too, like it's like, you know, slow and everything. So that was really funny to me. I rember like reading it on the phone.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with the entire world. Let me just say something to you, and I want to see what the reaction is. If I say social media or YouTube, does that resonate as a platform for you to work on? Rotana, first of all.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's been amazing. I never thought that I'd go down the YouTube route, but since I have, it's given me it's been a platform to reach as many, you know, so much more people than I could have possibly imagined. But also, it's been amazing because it's been a vehicle for, we live in this post 9/11 world, and I feel like the world is finally meeting real Saudi men and women like Fahad and Hisham and Abdul Nasir, not as presumed weak, oppressed, or extremist men and women, but as brave, peaceful, you know, ingenious, creative people. So it's been amazing now that I've seen the power that it has. And then once you've sparked an emotion, you have the ability to communicate in real time and get to your audience to make sure that that momentum keeps going and inspire action. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, Rotana, you all have your work cut out for you. As Mickey says on Facebook, hopefully they can change the world views. Everyone thinks they're either rich or terrorists, but you all are definitely changing this through the platform of social media. Here we have this really interesting graphic of the state of social media in Saudi Arabia, and it taught me a couple things I didn't know either, Femi, which is that Saudi Arabia is #1 in the region for Twitter usage, and Riyadh, the capital city of Saudi Arabia, is in the top 10 for the most tweets globally. But this is by far the most fascinating component. Are you all ready for this?
The YouTube statistics?
Yes, you knew it, Rotana.
It's amazing.
Can you tell our viewers what we see
have the highest per capita usage of YouTube in the world.
Is it 90 million videos per day? Is that possible?
It's crazy. It's real.
Hisham, you know what's interesting about this? Your video, No Woman, No Drive, how many views does it have? 10 million on it right now?
Yeah, 10 and a half maybe.
You know, my question to you is how have you used this space, number one, but more importantly, why has it skyrocketed? Why in Saudi Arabia is YouTube the most penetrated site?
Right. I mean, for us, it's, you know, it's a big thing. Like, the way we look at it is it's finally an infrastructure in which we can operate and express ourselves in. And I think this is the goal of Tilfaz 11 and hopefully the Amin Art Foundation, is to create, you know, an arena or an apparatus where people can participate and they can grow and they can collaborate. You know, I think YouTube and all the social media is amazing, you know, but if you don't have the right ingredients, you really can't make something great. It's like having like a beautiful stainless steel kitchen without any good ingredients. You're just going to make bleh food. But if you have, you know, I think here in Saudi Arabia we've had talent and we've had innovation and we've had all types of, you know, creative people, but it's just, you know, we haven't had the, you know, means of connecting to each other.
Sure.
So YouTube's really important to us, but it's more about the essence of each artistic movement or each artist.
Do you know, one of the things I'm thinking of as I'm listening to you, and you are very inspiring and role models, is do you have to be seriously rich to pursue this as a profession, Rotana?
To pursue music?
Yeah. Do you have to be rich to do it?
No, absolutely not. I really believe that if, you know, where there's a will, there is a way. I'm not going to say that it's not a financial effort. It has been, but you don't have to be rich. Absolutely not. You make do and you find people that are like-minded and believe in a higher purpose, and it's very attainable.
Fahad, how's professional stand-up working out for you in Saudi financially?
Well, I think stand-up comedy in Saudi, where there was no market at first when I started doing stand-up comedy in Saudi in 2008, it's just like any product. If you can make a market for it, then you can sell it. So we are making money financially right now, and we are making ends meet, and we are making some profit as well.
Sure.
We have, you know, it was a rough start at first. It was more of an individual, more of a group effort where people were pitching in. But in the end, it's a long-term investment, and we're starting to, you know, reap the fruits that we sowed in the first place.
Sure. You told me in the pre-show, and that's a little bit of the show that we do when we're online before we go onto TV. You told me about your most memorable review. It's so good. I'm going to ask you for an encore. Fahad, tell our audience about the most memorable review you've ever had in your entire life.
After coming off stage in one of the shows that we were doing, a stand-up comedy show here in Riyadh, in the green room, some guy came up to me and wanted to take pictures, and after he took pictures, he's like, "Can I tell you something?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm 36 years old, and in 30 years, I have never felt this proud to be Saudi after seeing you guys on stage." And I feel like maybe because he's finally seeing an art form and an art movement in the region in the current times that do represent his generation versus like traditional media has been doing in the past 2 or 10 years or whatever.
You're listening to Fahad Albutairi. We also have Rotana Talabzuni, Abdul Nasir, Garam, Hashem Fuji. You haven't had enough of them yet, I know, so I'm going to take them all to the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. But in the meantime, let me tell you about the next program on Monday. Malika will be back, but I will be going off traveling for the whole week. So Malika will be filling in for me as host of the show, and it's going to be a good one. We'll be looking at the Caribbean's ongoing campaign to demand reparations from former European colonizers. Stay with us. The post show is next at stream.aljazeera.com. You'll be able to see May Al Hassan one more time. But right now, I'll leave you with more of Rotana's latest cover song, Read All About It.
Put it in all papers, not afraid. They can read all about it, read all about it. Oh, 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 oh.
Hello again, this is the Stream's online post show. We are carrying on our insider's perspective on the entertainment scene in Saudi Arabia from 4 of the country's well-known artists. So with us we have comedian Fahad Albutairi, actor and comedian Hashem Fuji, artist Abdul Nasir, Garam, and singer-songwriter Ratana Talabzuni. Do you know, I think it's pointless talking about comedy. You kind of have to just enjoy it. So thank you, comedians, for bearing with us as we're discussing your art. I'm going to play a little bit from Hisham's stand-up comedy at the Gotham Club in New York, and I think you're going to laugh. Have a listen to this.
But it was a year after 9/11, and I was moving to the most redneck town in Florida called New Smyrna Beach. And kids are really mean. Kids would say things like, hey, how's your Uncle Osama? And I actually have an Uncle Osama, so I'd be like, he's good, thanks for asking.
I've heard that before and I'm still laughing. So Hisham, are there any areas where in your comedy you think, actually, I'm not going to talk about these particular areas? Anything that's taboo, or you maybe censor yourself, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, stand-up comedy is certainly a very honest, very sincere medium, and you know, it always comes from like an opinionated sort of standpoint. That's what makes it really interesting, is knowing people's emotions or people's insecurities. You know, the fluidity of communication or expression isn't so much developed, like, or isn't so much like as liberal in like Saudi society, so you have to be sensitive to like cultural norms, or
can you spell that out for us?
And you have to let it happen organically.
Yeah, can you spell that out for us? Like areas where you go, actually, I would not actually do a joke about this, or I'd be so careful about speaking about this area. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to hear where you draw the line.
No. I mean, obviously, you know, the main like the main points in stand-up comedy tend to be, you know, religion, sexuality, politics, and those are all like really sensitive issues. So you have to be.
Okay.
Is there
anything left on your list that you can talk about?
Is there anything left? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Religion,
here's
cross.
The thing, like,
sexual politics, cross.
Right. So that's how I made it very, you know, for me on a very personal level. I made it extremely like personalized to my sort of neuroses or insecurities, and I talk about how I see the world, you know, and sometimes that can be funny, so it works out for me half the time.
Sure.
And you can be creative, you know, you can be creative on how you talk about certain things, but you know, each society is different, you know, and comedy is very much based on like a culture and a language. So if you're doing like an imported type of comedy that doesn't necessarily work in this society, it's going to be rejected. It's going to be an inorganic material that gets rejected.
So Abdul Nasir, when you're doing art, literal art, are there any areas where you think I'm censoring myself, or you're trying to work around some of the perhaps social pushback that you might be getting in Saudi?
You know, usually I'm picking my issues or my idea from my daily life, from my society, if you know what I mean. So usually what the people are talking about in my society, I will start to analyze what they are saying, and I will start to, you know, to get these ideas and try to put it in a way it will not, you know, it will not threaten anyone, or it will not make someone afraid, or I will be very sure that it will not hurt anyone, if you know what I mean. I'll try to tell that story or to tell that idea in a smart way, and I will take the whole issues from a humanitarian perspective, where the people will be okay with it, and I think aesthetically I will play with it, you know what I mean? I will make it so beautiful. If it's killing us or hurting us, my job is to make it so beautiful. You know what you just mentioned now about the stamp paintings? You know, the stamp is the symbol of the bureaucracy, which killings our dreams, which postponing our goals. That small stamps is doing all of these things. But in the end of the day, I turn it to a surface as a canvas, and I'm start to do some beautiful painting on it, and the people start to collect it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Rotana, I want to bring you into this conversation because there is a topic.
I wanted to chime in on that.
Oh, go for it.
I totally agree with what the gentleman just said, and I think it's really important to make sure that you're relatable to your audience. You have to think, you and your audience have to see the world in the same way for them to be able to relate to you. But with that said, I also believe that I don't think that we should be, I don't think we should be walking on eggshells all the time, because the point of art is to provoke emotion, whether that's positive or negative. You want to make people feel something, and you want to help them gain ownership over those thoughts and emotions, because once they can do that, it's that state of being provoked is so much better than being somber and wish-washed, because there's nothing to provoke them. And once they've gained ownership over those things, they can now start a dialogue. So I do think that we should be very considerate and cognizant of the culture that we come from, but I don't think that should be a barrier as to what we address.
Speaking of eggshells and barriers, there's a topic that's been on the news frequently about Saudi Arabia, and it's about women and driving. And we've gotten a lot of comments about that from our community, but more so they are wondering about gender and what this signals for gender. So we have a video comment from Natusha, sorry about that.
Mocking the social constraints imposed on Arab women. The openness of expressing unorthodox personal views indicate a possible paradigm shift in the level of freedom of speech in Saudi. Personally, I believe this shows an increasing awareness of the minimal women's rights and a decline of the misogynistic community in the Saudi. I can definitely foresee better days for Arab women.
So Rotana, better days for women? Is arts the vehicle?
I think it's definitely one of the mediums, absolutely. There's nothing that speaks to people's emotions better than art, and there's nothing that moves people to action better than emotion. So absolutely, and I just want to point out that I think because of the digitization of this world, it's become more evident to the world, all the steps that have been taken. But there are very brave women that have been laying the foundations long before us. So we can't take all the credit.
So
better days for sure.
So Rotana, I'm looking at one of your other videos. It's team cover Lord, and I'm just scooting down here to the video comments, and people are kind of mean, and they're concerned about, well, she's pretty, or she's not got it right, she's changed the words, she's never going to get married. There's all of
the country.
Yes, I hate it. OMG, she ruined. Like, do you not cry a little bit inside when you read those comments?
Honestly, no. It hurt in the very beginning, but I realized that once I thought about it, it's just a misunderstanding, and it's ignorance on both parts. We don't understand each other as much as we need to, and so yeah, I think it is what it is, and it's not really hurtful when it comes from anonymous people. The hurtful comments are when it's from people that I know.
Ooh,
but I thought it was really important to, I had a few friends that were like, disable the comments because you just, what they're saying is awful. But I think it's really important that people see that, because that's the reality of what's happening, and I'm continuing even though and despite. So I think it's important to keep those comments up.
We've had a lot of questions from our online community to you, but we've got a great group of people here. I'm curious about, do you have questions for each other? How often do you all get to be together to chat together? Fahad?
I have met Rotana before, actually.
Sure.
We do come from the same hometown, and we have had a conversation before about what she's planning on doing with her music career, but I would probably say, if I had a question for her, I would ask her how long does she think it will probably take her to be for us to see her on the Billboard chart.
See, when you ask me that, I get palpitations. Honestly, I used to ask myself that question every single day, but I stopped because I realized that it really stops the creative process. It puts way too much pressure on me, and it deters me from my purpose of doing music, and that is to do what I love and inspire others to do the same. So I'm sorry that my answer is so vague. I don't know, and I try not to think about it. I purposely try to avoid thinking about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's one thing that I can tell you: if your dreams scare you, then you're on the right track. Actually.
Yeah, I've been scared. It's funny, like me and Fahad, as Fahad was saying, Fahad was one of the people that I had like a series of probably 7 conversations before I decided that I was seriously going to do this, and one of them was with Fahad. So thanks, Fahad. We had kind of a heart-to-heart, and
no problem at all.
I gained some inspiration from that conversation.
Hisham, your question for one of our guests would be what?
No, I mean, let's see. I have the pleasure of living in the same house as Fahad at the moment. And I was on the road with Abdul Nasir in London.
Okay, are you on the couch?
He actually has a whole entire bed for me, so I'm really blessed.
You see, this is a partnership going on here.
Yeah.
Now, why are you sleeping in his house? Why is this for the future of comedy in Saudi?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, for me, I just moved back from New York City, and my hometown is in Jeddah, which is on the west coast. But Riyadh is where like the team is at, and where I really feel that a lot of the sort of creativity is flowing. And I just felt so connected to the Tidfast team that I want to be as close as possible. I want to be sitting at my desk in the office with them every day.
So you're not allowed to ask Fahad a question because you can ask him tonight over dinner, but you can ask one of the other guests a question. What's that going to be?
All right. Let's see. I definitely am going to go to Rotana because I've spent a lot of time with Abdul Nasir and Fahad, and I want to get use this opportunity to talk to her. Rotana, because you were commenting about getting palpitations while thinking of the billboards. Would you be okay with being like a niche artist? Would you be okay with being like really like underrated and underpaid? Or do you want to just make it, and is your goal like doing it giantly?
Right. Obviously, I don't want to be a starving artist. I know that it sounds romantic, but it's really not romantic at all. Like I said, at first I was like, okay, I'm doing this mega superstar, but then it just completely deters you from your purpose. I want to make music that I love, and I know that when you do something authentically, you will communicate with an audience. So yeah, I don't care how big my audience is, as long as there is one. And yeah, I'm fine being a niche artist. That's totally cool. If it's not enjoyable, then it's not worth it.
All right. So finally, for Abdul Nasir, what piece of advice would you give to people watching this program and they're seeing you as a Saudi artist who's making waves around the world and they want to grow up to be you? What piece of advice would you give them?
I think the art now is relying on the knowledge. It's a mental thing now. It's need a lot of research. It's need the artist himself be free of ideology. He need to have his own independent, thinking or idea, and he should research in his heritage, in his history, in his culture, in his language. And the other thing, he should know the difference between the Westernism and the modernism, if you know what I mean. What I mean is... I
do understand you perfectly. So really Abdul Nasir, if I asked you to give us just a line to remember this conversation by, what would it be? Because we really have to wrap up and I want to end on something very special from you. What would you say? A line.
I'm barely hearing you, but...
So then this is a really good time for me to say thank you. Then what I can say is thank you for your time, for being part of this discussion. We really appreciated it. Rotana, it was great to have you, and Hisham and Fahad as well. They all have Twitter handles, every single one of them. We've been tweeting them out, so you can also join the conversation, talk to them about their work at #AJStream. I have to say goodbye and thank you to May as well. May, it's been great having you all this week. We will find you online. What is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is is at May Al Hassan.
So thank you to May, thank you to you for watching. On Monday, Malika will be back. I'm going off traveling for a whole week, so she will be filling in for me on the Monday show. And we'll be looking at Caribbean reparations. The Caribbean has this ongoing campaign to see if the former European colonizers will pay for the legacy of slavery. It should be a really interesting show. I will see you online. Thanks for watching.